Hi everyone, today we are going to be talking about lesson 4.6b, formalizing relations and functions. Today our goal is to understand function notation. It will look different than things we've done before, but it really is very much the same. So let's talk about some words we can use to represent x and y. We've heard of input and output. We've talked briefly, I think, about domain and range, and independent and dependent. With our input domain independent, those are all our x variables, and our output range dependent are our y variables. If you ever have trouble remembering, some of these words like domain and range, trying to remember which one is x, look for the word in. Input domain has an in it, independent has an in. Those are all our x variables. So just reviewing a little bit whether or not something is a function. Oops. Let's look at what we have here for our domain and our range. For my first point, my domain, my x, is 0, my y is 1. So I have 0, 1. My next one, my x is 1, my y is 2. So I have 1, 2. My third one, I have 2, 5. And my last one, I have 5, 6. Now, if I said, what is the domain for this relation? My domain are all these values of x. I have 0, 1, 2, and 5. My range, all these functions, all these values of y, 1, 2, 5, and 6. So the question is this a function? Well, if you remember, for our functions, for every x, we can only have one y. I don't have any, none of my x values repeat. So for every x, I do only have one y. For 0, I only have 1. For 1, I only have 2. For 2, I only have 5. 5, I only have 6. So yes, this is a function. Let's find the domain and range for each of these. Well, for my input here, I have a 2, and I have a 20. I have a 2, and I have a 40. I have a 4, and I have a 40. Let me put it down here because I like my numbers in order. And I have a 3 and a 30. Now my domain for this is 2, 3, and 4. I don't repeat the 2. It shows up twice, but I don't repeat it. My domain is 2, 3, and 4. Those are my x values. My range, I have 20, 30, and 40. Again, I don't repeat that 40. Those are my y values. Is this a function? No, it's not. And you know it's not because my 2 goes to a 20 and also goes to a 40. Remember, that's like having one person having two different birthdays. That doesn't work. This 2 having a 40 and 4 having a 40 is okay. You can have different people having the same birthday, if you remember that. But I can't have one person having two different birthdays. So x values can't repeat. So this is not a function. This is function notation. F of x equals 4x plus 1. We are used to having a y here. That is really the same thing. F of x says, for this value of x, what does this equal? So when we have this function notation, we can substitute different values in for x. So if I said f of 2, that means where my x is, I'm going to put a 2. And if I put a 2 there, I do 4 times 2 plus 1 for my f of 2. So notice f of 2 is just in what value you're going to try for x. We're going to do a 2 for x. So 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. F of 0, again, I would just put a 0 here for x. And so 4 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. That's where my f of 0 is 1. F of negative 3, I would put in 4 times negative 3, because I just substitute negative 3 for x. That is negative 12 plus 1 would give me that negative 11. So what would these two be? F of 5 and f of negative 2. Well, f of 5 would just be 4 times 5, which is 20, plus 1, which would give me f of 5 is 21. F of negative 2 would be 4 times negative 2, which is negative 8, plus 1. So my f of negative 2 would be negative 7. So the f names a function, and these are our input values, is our x. When you put your input value, whatever you put in for x, here you're going to get your output values. And we already did these. I had my 21 and I had my negative 7. Let's find f of 7 for this function, 9x plus 8. And then we're going to use f of 5 for this function and f of 3 for this function. Just thought I'd put them all up there to make it a little easier. So f of 7, that means my input value is going to be 7. And to get my output, oops, my pen didn't write. Oops, now it did. Oh, I think I leaned on my keyboard. To get my output, I will substitute 7 for x. So 9 times 7 plus 8. Well, 9 times 7 is 63. Plus 8. Give me my f of 7. So f of 7 will be 71. (63 plus 8). Okay, let's find f of 5 for this function. F of 5 will equal 5 to the second power minus 5. 5 to the second power is 25. Aha, my keyboard is very touchy today. I don't know why it's bugging me so much. Gotta be very careful, I think. 25 minus 5. So my output of f of 5 will be 20. 25 minus 5. The nice thing about using function notation is you know what you input for your x. If I just had, y equals 20, I don't know what I input for x to get that 20. But here I can tell that, oh, when I used a 5 for my x, I got 20 for my output. F of 3 for my next one. Now you got to be careful with this one. It is a x that's being raised to the second power, not the negative 2 times x that's being raised to the second power. I'm going to put that in parentheses. Now we know this isn't going to be a linear function because I have that variable exponent on the variable. Same with this one. This one is linear over here. So 3 to the second power is going to give me 9. I'm inclined not to keep writing those f of 3's because it takes so much time with my little mouse pen. Then I have negative 2 times 9 is negative 18 plus 3. Don't forget your order of operations. Negative 18 plus 3 is negative 15. So my f of 3 is equal to negative 15. If I input 3 into this function, my output will be negative 15. Okay, I have the Rum River BMX track charges $30 for a month membership and $6 per practice. So this is our function. F of x is equal to $6 per practice plus my $30 monthly membership. So we want, and this is the cost for X number of practices. So we want to know what it'll cost if we practice 3 times. So using my function notation, my f of 3 will equal, notice I'm substituting into this function, 6 times 3, because my x is 3, plus 30. And 6 times 3 is 18, plus 30. So my f of 3 is $48. So like I said, the nice thing about this, if I said, well, what does that 48 represent? Well, it represents my number of practice being 3. Let's look at f of 5 for the same function. F of 5 will be 6 times 5 this time, plus 30. 6 times 5 is 30, plus 30. So my f of 5 will be 60. Okay, I have this function that represents the number of words that SpongeBob can type in X minutes. So apparently SpongeBob is a pretty fast typist. F of 5 equals 400. What does that mean? Well, that means if I put in 5 into this function, 80 times 5, I get this 400. Well, 400 what? Well, this represents the number of words that he can type. In this case, 5 minutes. So in 5 minutes, SpongeBob can type 400 words. Okay, let's look at this. What is a range of f of x equals 3x squared minus 2 with this domain? So what that's saying is if we use these values for x, what will be my output? What will be my domain? So I want to know my f of negative 2, my f of negative 1, my f of 0, my f of 1, and my f of 2. And we're using this function, so it's going to be 3 times negative 2 to the second power minus 2. Well, negative 2 to the second power is negative 2 times negative 2. That is a positive 4. Now I have 3 times 4 is 12 minus 2. So my f of negative 2, I could write that on every line, but because it takes me so long to write with my mouse pen, I am not writing it everywhere. But I could have my f of negative 2, f of negative 2, all the way down here. 12 minus 2 is 10. So my f of negative 2 is 10. What f of negative 1? Well, 3 times negative 1 to the second power. Remember, it's the negative 1 that's being raised to the second power, not 3 times negative 1. It makes a difference. Negative 1 to the second power is positive 1. 3 times 1 is 3 minus 2. So f of negative 1 equals 3 minus 2, or 1. Next, I have f of 0. Oops, I already wrote that. 3 times 0 to the second power. No, 0 to any power is going to be 0. Minus 2. 3 times 0. Minus 2. 3 times 0 is 0. Minus 2. So my f of 0 equals negative 2. Last two. F of 1 is 3 times 1 to the second power. This is going to start looking very familiar to you. Minus 2. 1 to the second power is 1, because 1 times 1 is 1. Three times 1 is 3. Minus 2. F to the first, f of 1, I'm having trouble speaking, is equal to 1. Notice this is the same as f to the negative 1. So f of negative 1 is 1. F of 1 is also 1. That's because when we square these negative numbers, you get the same thing as if you square the positive number. You'll see the same thing with our f of 2. So 3 times 2 to the second power minus 2. 2 to the second power is 4. Just like negative 2 to the second power is 4. Three times 4 is 12. Minus 2 will get us 10. So my f of 2 is also 10, just like f of negative 2 was. So what is my, to answer the question, what's my range? My range is, I'm going to put them in order, negative 2. There I go again. Negative 2. 1, and 10. So for this domain, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2, I get negative 2, 1, and 10. That's my range. Okay, now this is an interesting one. It says if f of x, sometimes we use different letters other than f. If f of x is x squared minus 8, and g of x is negative 6x plus 4, find f of 7 plus g of negative 10. Sounds complicated? Really isn't. F of x, f of 7 is going to be seven to the second power minus 8. Well, 7 to the second power is 49. Minus 8 is 41. So f of 7 is equal to 41. Now g of negative 10, going back to this one, g of negative 10 will equal negative 6 times negative 10 plus 4. Well, negative 6 times negative 10 is a positive 60 plus 4. So g of negative 10 is equal to 64. So if we know f of 7 is 41, and we're adding g of negative 10, which is 64, f of 7 plus g of negative 10 will equal 105. Save myself some writing of f of 7 and g of negative 10 will equal 105. I add this and this, I get 105. Okay, now we're going to find x when f of x equals negative 18. Well, that's an interesting one. So it might sound tricky, but we're saying that f of x is negative 18. So we're saying this is negative 18. And that's going to be equal to negative 7x plus 4 minus 4. This is just a two-step equation. We've done a million of these. I'm going to rewrite it down here so I have workspace. Negative 18 equals negative 7x minus 4. What will I do first? I'm going to add 4 to both sides. Negative 18 plus 4 is negative 14 equals negative 7x. Then I just need to divide by negative 7. My x will be 2. So my f of 2 will equal negative 18. F of 2 equals negative 18. That is it. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.